We turn now to the police raid on the Dotcom mansion. So much discussed for so many months, and now the footage of that morning has begun to emerge. It generally shows what was always said to have happened, but it sheds little light on why it happened. The FBI is charging Dotcom with internet piracy on a massive scale. He and his lawyers, both here and in America, assert no helicopters were needed to arrest him, no crack police officers with semi-automatic weapons, and the FBI not too far in the background. As the legal battle continues over a High Court finding that the search warrants used in the raid were invalid, the raid itself is coming under scrutiny in the High Court. The evidence you will hear off camera in this story is from an elite police officer we cannot identify. Those involved are protected for their own safety and future operations unrelated to this case. But this is how that morning unfolded.
All call signs, all call signs. This is
6:47 a.m, the 20th of January this year, and the raid is underway.
Copy.
A helicopter carrying members of the elite Special Tactics Group flies into the Coatesville home of Kim Dotcom.
Ground units from gates are open.
Dotcom's pregnant wife, their 3 children, some guests, and somewhere in the region of a dozen staff are also there. All is quiet below. Within seconds, 4 armed members of the Special Tactics Group run to the main door. The helicopter immediately leaves.
Hand lifting.
The main justification for using it at all, that Dotcom's security staff would have stopped police vehicles at the gates.
Forward.
But as the chopper flies out, the first ground forces are already arriving in that van, just seconds behind. And inside?
First of all, it wasn't unusual for me to hear helicopter noise because we were expecting guests to arrive, and it's usual that sometimes guests arrive early in the morning, especially if they come from the US and are being picked up by helicopter. So the noise from the helicopter wasn't really a surprise, but then I heard pinging of stones, of rocks to my bedroom window. My shields were down, so I couldn't see outside what was happening. And then shortly after, within a few seconds, I had a heavy banging on my door.
Go ahead. Guard from main gate reports changeover was 6 o'clock. Only 2 guards working, 1 at the main gate, 1 roaming.
The helicopter is circling above, not directly involved any longer. It was recording police comms, the sound of the raid as it unfolded.
Yeah, made entry into the bedroom of the target. The door was closed, slammed, and it had a security lock on it. We breached it. Moved through. He's done a runner. We can't find him in either the studio or the bedroom.
I was on my bed. Once the banging started, I pressed an alarm button that is situated right at my bed, that was installed in cases of emergency. When I press that, it automatically sends a signal to all security guards and Mr. Tempero's room, including SMSs to everybody, informing them that there is an alert. And I then stood up from the bed and made my way to the Red Room.
He was in this room here, which we call the Red Room. And the reason will be obvious in a moment when I open the door.
Wayne Tempero, Dotcom's head of security. This footage wasn't played to the court, it's from our interview in February. But what has been learnt in court is that despite knowing of the room's existence, having the plans, and the door to the room not being locked, it still took 13 minutes for the police to find Dotcom here.
I was sitting in front of that pillar in that room, and then I heard loud banging noises, and I was just scared and worried.
Meanwhile...
Yeah, Roger. Revised numbers in the garage from the top part. We have 5 Philippine females and 3 children.
The house is being closed down. Everyone present is being accounted for and contained. Everyone.
We have the 5 nannies plus his children up in the top of the garage. Roger that. Thank you.
By 7:10, armed officers are on the roof. Directly below them, Kim Dotcom has now been found and detained.
The upper level's over.
I thought, I better wait for them to come to me rather than me popping out of that secret door and maybe, scaring someone who might shoot me. So I waited in the red room. I knew the door wasn't locked. There was a button that I could have engaged to lock the door, but I haven't done that. And I waited in the room upstairs and waited for them to come. And once they came up the stairs, I had my hands like this. And then very quickly they approached me, and within 2 seconds they were there and all over me.
When you say all over you, just what happened?
Well, I had a punch into the face, I had boots kicking me down to the floor, I had a knee into the ribs, and then my hands were on the floor. One man was standing on my hand.
For the log, Mr. Dotcom has been shown the warrant to search the property. He acknowledges it.
7:11, 2 helicopters have been used.
I've got green light to utilise the dog.
Dogs are now being deployed. And you can now clearly see 1, 2, 3, 4 police vehicles. Police on the ground include the Armed Defenders Squad and the Special Tactics Group, who were armed with
a gun belt, which had my secondary weapon, a police-issue Glock pistol, on the right-hand side, and additional magazines on the left. And my primary weapon, which is a Colt Commando M4 5.56 weapon.
The implement shed and containers attached have been cleared. No persons located.
If it all seems slightly American, the FBI were there on the day and during the planning period leading up to it.
Were any FBI officers present at any stage in your dealings with this matter during the week of the, what was it, the 16th of January?
Yes, sir.
Also recording that day, this camera in a tree above the house. It recorded the STG officers from the second helicopter, 5 of them also armed with semi-automatic weapons. Their 4 colleagues are already inside the house. They run to join them. Moments later, a dog handler arrives. Outside, more dogs, more men, more guns, including figures entering up the hill in the background. The house is surrounded, and this is a significant show of force. But curiously, the officers are not dressed in full combat gear. If the house and its occupants were such a threat, why not?
We wanted to match the threat level, in this case a low threat, with our dress. And we made that conscious decision not to wear full tactical kit. It wasn't appropriate in these circumstances.
So why such a show of force? Paul Davison QC spent the day trying to get to the bottom of that question. Exchanges were sometimes testy. In one instance, around the treatment of Dotcom himself.
There was force applied.
Question is, did you see anything that you took? No need to look at counsel. Just look at me and answer the question. Did you see anything done to Mr. Dotcom that was, to your mind, of a nature that was deliberate?
Yes, there was deliberate force applied.
But the larger issue remained less clearly answered. The Special Tactics Group, the Armed Defenders Squad, search warrants now declared illegal. What was behind such a large and pointed operation that morning? The police say...
Primary objective: secure suspect as soon as possible to prevent destruction of evidence.
But Dotcom replies he couldn't have destroyed evidence even if he wanted to, because the FBI had seized their servers before the raid.
All of that is so invalid and really angers me, because that the FBI was already in the data center disabling access to the data that they feared we would manipulate. So prior to you arriving and doing what you did, there was no chance for anybody to do anything with that evidence.
Yes, Roger. Good to go with your last plan methodical clearance of the upper levels, over.
So, data already seized, threat risk low, and admission from within police ranks that the operation was, quote, over the top. What was it about? And why? The hearing continues tomorrow. That story was shot over the past 2 days in court by John Fleming and edited by Sarah Rowan.